Hello friends, it's Kylie with you all with another fun Christmas layout to share. Recently I posted a photo of my Christmas truck layout on my Instagram and you all went a little crazy for it, asking for a tutorial. So today I'm going to share with you how I created my layout, including the little Christmas truck, and I'm using the seasonal sightings collection and tools from Creative Memories. Alright, so I just want to run you through a few supplies that you will need to create your page. You're going to need some designer papers. I have about 4 sheets here that I'm going to work with. And I'm using papers from the Totally Tonal Christmas Designer Paper Pack, as well as the Shades of Seasonal Sightings Designer Paper Pack from Creative Memories. You're going to need a sheet of white cardstock, which will be cut down, of course. We won't be using the entire sheet. And I'm really trying hard lately to use up my cardstock stash. I seem to have so many colours and I just don't use enough of it. So I've actually gone through and I've picked out this basalt toned cardstock, and you can use whatever you like. You can use black, you can use green. This is going to be used as a frame for the layout. So I thought the basalt looked really nice with these papers. I'm also going to work with the beautiful new Poinsettia Edge Border Maker cartridge and of course my Border Maker system. This released with the new Seasonal Sightings collection and I love it. Now, to create your fun little Christmas truck, you're going to need both rectangular custom cutting templates as well as your red cutting blade. You're going to need your adhesive tape, of course. Going to need the 2-way corner round punch, and I've just got a small amount of black shimmer cardstock as well as platinum shimmer cardstock, and I've selected my truck. I want my truck to be a lovely shade of red, nice for Christmas, so I've just selected another small amount of red toned designer paper. Now this is optional, but I'm also going to be working with a little bit of ink just to highlight the edges of my truck. You don't have to use ink if you don't wish, that is entirely up to you. Now we're going to start by putting our background page together, and I've got my basalt cardstock here. Again, you can use whatever colour you like. And I'm going to trim this down to 9 1/4 inches by 9 1/4 inches. Keep your offcuts though, because they can be handy for another project. And I'm going to take this beautiful beige toned paper. It has the green fleck on the back. And I'm going to trim this piece of paper down to 9 inches by 9 inches. Now I'm going to bring in my background page, which is this beautiful gingham, and I want to adhere my cardstock in the center of this paper. Now, if you would like to conserve cardstock and conserve designer paper, by all means, you can remove the center of these first before you go putting these into place. But once you have your cardstock centered, you can stick that into place. And as always, I'm going to be working with repositionable tape just in case I need to lift anything up and rework it into place. Next, I'm going to come in with my beige paper and adhere that centered over my cardstock, which just gives it a lovely, nice little frame around the edges. Like so. Okay, now we're going to create the border piece that runs along the bottom edge of our layout. So we can set this aside for now, and I'm going to bring in my white cardstock. And this is where I'm going to use the brand new Poinsettia Edge Border Maker cartridge. I'm just placing that into my Border Maker system, and we can open up the arms for the paper holder. I'm just going to insert my white cardstock, fold that arm out of the way, and we can start punching by aligning these little nodules along the edge. I'll just get all of my confetti out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to insert that white cardstock now into my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm just aligning the tips of my little border there to 4 inches wide, and I'm going to trim that through. Next, I'm going to switch out my blade, and I really love the decal blade. I think it looks like a really cool sort of textural or torn edge with the result that it gives. So I'll just insert my decal blade, and I'm going to bring in this really fun polka dot pattern, and I'm just going to trim a very, very thin strip from that so that we get our deckled edge to start. And I'm going to trim this strip to be 3.25 inches wide. Next, I'm going to bring in this lighter green shade of paper and do the same thing. Just trim a really thin strip to get our decal edge started. And I'm going to trim 2 3/4 of an inch strips. So 3/4 of an inch by 12 inches. Like so. I like to change my blade back to the straight blade just so that I don't forget, and if I go to make another cut later on where I don't want that decal edge, I know my straight blade's back in there. Okay, so let's create our border strip. I've got the white poinsettia edge strip there, and I'm just going to layer our wider green strip over the top, and just so that we've got a very small edge of white showing at the base. So I'll add a little bit of tape to the back, like so. Just making sure that's nice and straight and adhering to place. Next, with our green strips, we're going to have one to the top and the bottom of our darker green strip. And again, just leaving a very small edge showing underneath, like so. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the top. So next, I'm going to bring in some of these beautiful border stickers, and I'm going to use these fun little Christmas globes. And these are going to add a great pop of colour to the border, but I'm going to add one centred to this top strip. And I'm going to add one to the bottom strip as well. That's given a lovely effect. So I can bring back in my background page now. Just align that neatly on my cutting mat. And I want my border strip to be probably around 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom. So we are going to be covering a little bit of our base square that we've added here. But you just want to be able to see just that little bit of the red paper below the border. So I can stick that into place. Now that's ready to have our fun little truck so that we can embellish our background. So I can set this across to the side. Okay, so I've got my papers here to create my truck, and we're going to start with the red. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align the straight edge of the paper to a random straight line on my cutting mat. And I'm going to bring in the smaller of the two rectangle cutting templates. And we only need to cut half. We don't need to cut a full rectangle. And when you're happy, when you've got it about halfway on that paper, I'm just going to use my red blade and we're going to cut around the outside track. Like so, and that way we're left with a half shape. I'm going to do the same thing now with the larger rectangle template, only this time we're going to cut it with the template sitting horizontally, so the width horizontally, and we only again need about half. And this time we're going to cut from the inside track. Like so. So we're left with these two pieces to start our truck. That's all we need for our templates and our blades, so I'll just sit them aside out of the way. I'm just going to bring in the 12-inch trimmer with the straight blade in, and we need to cut a 3-inch wide piece of paper by 1.5 inches wide. So just a little rectangle. Like so. Next I'm going to bring in my black shimmer cardstock, and I need a little rectangle to measure 2.5 inches by 1.25. Like so. And from this little leftover piece I've got here, I'm just going to cut 2 3/4 of an inch strip. Doesn't matter too much the length of those. They don't need to be too long. I think mine are still just the 2.5 inches. So you're going to just need 2 little pieces like so. And our final piece that we need, I'm just bringing in the platinum shimmer, and I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch wide strip, and I need that to be 4.5 inches long. And that gives us all the pieces we need for our little truck. So I'll bring them in to show you. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my 2-way corner rounder punch, and I just want to share with you something. You can just see here how you've got these 2 little plastic circles on the top of your punch. I'm going to take one of the little 3/4 inch wide black strips that we cut. So I'm going to use these 2 little circles just to center the strip, just eyeballing it, and I'm only inserting the end just inside the punch. I'm not pushing it all the way through, and I'm just going to round one end. I'm just going to do the same with the next little black strip that we cut, just eyeballing it to center it, inserting it just inside the punch, and punching. It doesn't need to be too perfect. And then the same with our little platinum shimmer strip, only this time you can sort of line up the edges to either side of the circle, but you just want the edge just inside the punch. I'm not pushing it all the way through, and I'm going to punch. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other short end of that. Just insert it inside the punch and punch. So it just rounds off both of those edges. Next, I'm going to take our little black rectangle here that we cut, and I'm going to round all 4 corners. So that is the shape that you will be left with. Alright, so this is where we get to our little next optional step, and I'm bringing in my Distress Oxide, and with the hickory smoke I'm just going to add a little bit to the edges of our black glitter rectangle here. You can see it just highlights those edges just that little bit. This will be our little window of the truck. So you can see there the highlight that's given. Alright, and I'm also going to use the black soot on the 3 red pieces here. I'll just change out my little ink dauber. And again, just the same thing. I'm just going to gently rub a little bit around the edges. Okay, so now we can bring our little truck together. I'm going to use some foam squares, and I'm just going to add some to our little elongated piece here. And this piece will get stuck to the bottom of our other half piece that we cut. And by using the foam squares, it's just going to help to raise that a little bit, like so. Next, I'm going to use our little silver strip here and just add some adhesive before adding it to the base of this half, making sure it's nice and straight. Just want to make sure that that's nice and straight. So it adds like a little silver bumper to the base of your truck. Like so. These will be our tyres, and this is why I said it doesn't really matter the length that you cut these. So they're just going to get stuck in underneath. But you want probably a good, I guess a good 3/4 of an inch showing in behind your truck. Like so. And then this little guy is our window. So we can add that towards the top of the back of the truck. And then our final piece will be just centered in the back there. So it's like the tray of our truck. Like so. So you can see how quickly and easily that came together. I'm just going to bring in some of the decorative stickers, and I'm going to add just a little tree to the back here, and I can pop a star on top, like so. And then I'm just going to add some little presents to the back of the truck. Like so. And that finishes our cute little Christmas truck. Now I just want to add another little sticker to the back here, and I think I'll use, we might go with holiday memories. Like so. And we can bring back in our layout. And add our little truck to the base here. Well, it's coming together nicely. So again, I'm just using my repositionable tape, and I'll just add that into place. I think our star might need a little bit of bling, so I'm just going to use one of the rhinestones from the embellishment pack And just add a little bit of sparkle to the center of our star there. Okay, so now we can talk photo. And I'm going to actually use the same lighter shade green that I used in my border strip for my photo mats, but you can use cardstock if you prefer. I'll just trim a straight edge because I had my decal blade on the last time we trimmed from that. And I'm going to trim a 6.25 by 4.25 photo mat, and that will allow for a 6x4 photo. And we're going to have a 4.25 by a 4.25 mat, and that will be for a 4x4 photo. And then using the same polka dot green that I used in the border as well, I'm just going to cut one photo mat to be 3.25 by 3.25. And that will allow for a 3x3 photo. But again, you can choose whatever size photos you like for your layout. I like to mix up my photo sizes. So we can have one here to this side, and then we can have our 4x4 here, and then our 3x3 can go to the top here, and then we can add some embellishments to the page as well. And I'm going to have some of the holly and this beautiful poinsettia flower, and then I've got the Merry Christmas as well, and I might add some more holly to the underneath there. So I'll just stick those into place. I'll use some foam for this poinsettia flower just so that we can build a little height and dimension for the page. Like so. We can tuck the holly underneath there. And I'll use some foam squares on my title, and this has some gold foiling which is really beautiful. We can add that to the top there. And I might just finish with a little bit more bling. I love these rhinestones and pearls. So I'll just add a couple of little ones there to the top. Okay, so with all our mats in place, it's time to add some photos. I haven't got my photos printed as yet because I'm going to use this page for this year. So I've just cut some white cardstock to the size of what the photos would be. So we've got a 6x4 here on the side. And by cutting the photo mats to the sizes that we did, you can see it just gives it that nice, even little border around the edges. And I've got a 4x4 photo here. And whether you're using this little square for journaling or for another photo, I would be adding another photo. So I've got my 3x3. And then, as you know, I say this nearly every video, I like to add my journaling in strips. So I would be adding my journaling just to the base here. So I've cut some white cardstock strips, and they're all about 1/4 inch wide, and I can add my journaling to these strips. And to finish it off, I might just add some of these cute little prezzies to the side. Just make sure that I punch the center out on the bows of that present there. There we go. So I've just popped a foam square on the back of that larger one. And I'll just lay the smaller gift over the top to finish. So there we have another fun Christmas layout all completed. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how my page has come together today, and perhaps you give it a try for yourselves. Don't forget, if you're in Australia and you're interested in any of the tools or the products that you've seen me working with today, I will link my Creative Memories website below so you can check everything out. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.